Of the Fullerton Informer, coming to you live on this Tuesday, December 7th, 2021. A day that will live in infamy. Remember those words that ushered the United States into World War II? This is Joe Imbriano, your host, P.O. Box 4121, Fullerton, California, 92834. On the web at thefullertoninformer.com, WiFiDangers.com, VaxDangers.com, CellTowerDangers.com, 5GDangers.com, Disney666.com, Apple666.org, Hollywood666.com. All right, folks, without further ado, let's get right into the content today. For those of you who don't know where I live in Southern California. And for those of you who live in Southern California, I'm sure all of you are very familiar with a radio station called KFI AM 640. There's a person that is a host of a morning show on KFI AM 640. His name is Bill Handel. I don't know how to spell his last name. But if you pay any attention to what comes out of his mouth, you will realize it is diametrically opposed to everything a normal, God-fearing Christian constitutionalist stands for. He is diametrically opposed to every vestige of, in my opinion, human decency and what it means to be an American, because he is of the enemy. Now, this morning, it's not unusual for him to make very disturbing comments. He was mocking Jesus Christ, making the Christmas music was playing, and he was saying, hey, let's end the Christmas music tomorrow. You know, what is Christmas anyway? Is that the day that Jesus rolled the stone? Is that the day that he was crucified? Is that the day he went sideways? Yeah, that's Bill Handel mocking my Savior, right? Well, you know, that's okay, because that's what ex-cokeheads do. Bill Handel's an ex-cokehead. Go look at the KFI website and look at his bio. The guy had a drug problem. Now he's on the airwaves. Isn't that a brilliant ending for the man's life, right? Isn't that wonderful that he has this influence? A cokehead, an ex-cokehead, is taken to the airwaves in Southern California making fun of Jesus. All right, and he's promoting vaccines. He's promoting ending gun rights. He's calling people that don't get vaccinated crazy and loony. So call the station, you know, AM 640, and listen to his broadcast this morning. I think it was around maybe 7:15 to 7:30 when he was mocking Jesus. But he does that a lot. He makes fun of Christians. He thinks it's funny. Well, you know, that's constitutionally protected speech, and so is this. And so call the station and you know, let them know how you feel about a guy that wants to take your guns away and force you to be injected, because that's what he is. He's a man pushing that agenda. Now, he made a comment this morning in light of these shootings, and look, I take nothing lightly when it comes to the taking of innocent life. God hates the shedding of innocent blood. It is an abomination to Almighty God to shed innocent blood. But yet that's exactly what is happening as a direct result, not of the guns, ladies and gentlemen. Bill Handel says there are too many guns on the streets. And I technically would agree with that statement, but not in the context in which he is taking the conversation. You see, folks, there are too many hands on this narrative about firearms ownership that are working for the people that want to take them away from us. There are too many guns on the streets, folks, and they're in the hands of the government, okay? The reason that we have too many guns in this country is because the government keeps ordering millions of them for their police and the military. Why can't we take care of ourselves, right? Well, they don't want us to. They want us to be under their thumb. They want the boot on our neck so they can have their way with us. Now, I want to talk to you about gun control, okay? And I want to talk to you about the Second Amendment, and I want to talk to you about Bill Handel's take on it. Bill Handel is not an American, folks. He is a traitor. Everything he talks about goes against the vestiges of this society's foundations. He is an ardent critic and a mocker of Christianity, and he's an ardent critic and mocker of individual liberty, and he's an ardent mocker and critic of decency when it comes to morality. Now, with that being said, I want to talk to you about the last thing I just mentioned. You see, the people that control the media, they have one thing in common, ladies and gentlemen. They want our guns. And the reason that they want our guns is so that we can't fight back when they start doing things to us that we don't like. They don't want us to be able to defend ourselves when bonkers on us. You see, that is why the government, when it was founded by the framers and the Second Amendment was written, it was written for our freedom and liberty so that government take it away and go tyrannical on us, because that's what happens on every continent on the face of the earth. Now, aside from, promoting vaccines, forced vaccinations, masks, the climate change hoax, and all these other things, Bill Handel always talks about how evil guns are and how we should restrict gun ownership and people shouldn't have guns, okay? Well, I agree with him that the government shouldn't have so many guns, all right? The military should not have drones, houses, and cities. They have all these weapons, and yet the borders are wide open, and you've got axe murderers and rapists driving around with fake IDs on public assistance. That's right. It's hilarious, folks. And then when they do want to use our weapons, they take them over into the Middle East and murder a bunch of people over there for the deep state in the heart of the Mediterranean that is controlling the military-industrial complex. So those people that shed the blood of the human cattle don't shed their own blood. You see, that's how it works. But domestically here on the home front, they want our guns, all right? They are doing everything they can to make sure that we can't say no, and the point will come where we're going to have to say no. How are they doing this, folks? Well, it all started a long time ago with the Second Amendment. A well-regulated militia. What's a well-regulated militia, folks? A well-regulated militia is one that is organized and funded. That's not what the government's doing, folks. As a matter of fact, anytime a citizen group forms a militia, they demonize them, send the FBI in, and either, gun them down or firebomb them, right? And then frame them. Let's talk about a well-regulated militia, the security of a free state. What is a free state, folks? It's a state in which the government doesn't have the upper hand, okay? Well, unfortunately, too many people have been given over to chasing, dollar bills. I can't tell you how many people I know that will devote their entire life to step on other people, screw other people, break other people, psychologically warfare other people, ruin people's lives just to get ahead and make money. And I know these people that have amassed all this wealth, and they're going overseas raping kids with their money, right? It's unbelievable. So, what are they doing in the United States to make sure that we can't defend ourselves? Well, it goes back to the Second Amendment when they started putting punctuation marks in certain places and, writing things with ambiguity, but nonetheless, the intent was there. I don't want to get into a grammatical discussion on the Second Amendment. I want to get into a discussion on how the deniers of Jesus Christ, that's right, the deniers of Jesus Christ have been working overtime since they invented a television camera to make sure that we take our rights and flush them down the toilet. You see, folks, they have been doing everything they can to corrupt and destroy the minds and hearts and souls and morality of America so that we are no longer worthy of the rights that we've been bestowed with. And that is how they do it, okay? Whether it's the movies, the shooting, the video games, the shooting, the music, the shooting, the magazines, the shooting, the news coverage, the news coverage of the fake shootings, it's all the same psych warfare to get the guns out of our hands so that they can put the cuffs on us and march us off to execute us. All right? If you haven't noticed, everything in Hollywood is about killing. Everything in the music industry is about filth. Everything in the children's cartoons is about, animals and people getting together and witchcraft and sorcery and blood drinking and vampires and all this sadistic, satanic trash. They don't want us being worthy of the rights that people died for, okay? You understand me, folks? So they've been working overtime creating all these movies about killing and blowing things up and shooting and murdering and getting even and taking revenge and killing and at the end making you cheer for the murderers, making you cheer for those that have killed and shed blood, making you want to go out and do it by these repetitive satanic mind control Xbox, Call of Duty satanic video games that train these young men how to kill and desensitize them to blood and gore and the actual taking of an innocent life. And they invent these medications, these serotonin reuptake inhibitors that flatline your conscience and your mood. That's right. They do everything they can to dehumanize us so that they can get us to trip up and blow it so we can't keep our rights anymore. Well, it's not working! Don't fall for it, folks. They've been working overtime with Hollywood for how long? And by the way, do you know why they call Hollywood Hollywood? You know, a few years ago, I went to a company function that happened to be at Universal Studios. Biggest mistake I ever made walking into that place. I mean, it overlooks the whole valley where the deniers of Jesus Christ have satanically mind-controlled the world, right? But in there was nothing more than a Harry Potter castle, and everywhere you went in there, it was Harry Potter, Harry Potter, Harry Potter. And they had these displays where you could buy stuff, and they had all these sorcerer's wands with all these hieroglyphics all over them, right? And I did a video on this not too long ago when I was there. I photographed a lot of the stuff. But it's Hollywood. The reason they call it Hollywood is because they use the holly tree and the wood from the holly tree to make the sorcerer's wands. You see, folks, Hollywood is nothing but a satanic. It's a satanic. It's a satanic mind control system. All right. They use the holly tree to make these wands. That's why they call it Hollywood, folks. And the people that run Hollywood are black magicians and sorcerers and Satan worshipers, okay? And so they use deception and black magic and spell casting on the masses, and they promote this through their use of broadcast television, which I call Hellivision, which I call satanic, black scrying, mirrors, electronic, psychotronic, Ouija boards called smart televisions. All right? So they use the movies to brainwash us into thinking that, we should be afraid of guns, that we should be petrified of anyone that owns them, and that young people, it's okay to go out and do something crazy if you feel like it, right? The video games, all the shooting games, all these, these internet-based video games. It's unbelievable, folks. It's all satanic mind control to get you to blow it or get somebody to do something horrible. I mean, forget talk about the schools while we're at it. I guess we have a little bit of time to talk about the schools. The schools will never teach you how to deal with the police. They will never teach you how to, cooperate in a traffic stop. They will never teach you how to avoid falling into the insiders that the police use to escalate routine traffic stop felonies, so they can feed you into the meat grinder of the criminal injustice system, so you can be fodder to keep the salaries going. And keep the money coming into the court system, which is all imploding now. But the schools teach you nothing but how to stay up late, lose sleep, lose your hair, lose your fertility, and lose your mind, lose your morality, lose your conscience, and try to figure out how to step on everybody and get ahead so you can get nowhere fast when you get out. You see, you're going to realize when you get out of college and out of all this mind control, you're going to hit the brick wall with a lot of debt. And you will realize that the best years of your life have been stolen from you by these people that have filled your mind full of absolute lies and filth, okay? I don't mind telling you that the schools will never teach you the truth about what the government is supposed to be, what a good citizen is supposed to be, and the proper role of a citizen owning a firearm or multiple firearms, and what a citizen's role is, and what God's role is in society. No, they'll teach you to cut off your genitals, dye your hair pink and purple, and, promote all this stuff that's on the television. And if you try to talk about any historical facts, they'll tell you that you're a hate monger and that that's hate speech. And then when you go to try to challenge anything, they'll send you to the principal's office and they'll call the FBI on you, right? I mean, it's unbelievable. But the bottom line is the school system has not been modified for at least 80 years, because they all still have these clubs and these sports teams, and the same curriculum, the same basic classes they've been teaching for 70, 80 years. Why? Not because we need to learn those things, but because that system of trauma-based mind control is so effective at turning out a bunch of satanized, perverted, corrupt, cowardly consumers instead of wise citizens and patriots. And so now everybody's walking around with 3 masks on, AirPods on, sunglasses on, with a 60-pound backpack full of books or a sterilizing infertility pad in their lap. And they think they're smart because they've learned a whole bunch of nonsense that means absolutely nothing and has no relevance on anyone's life. All it was designed to do was to rob the brain capacity and break the critical thinking skills as they're rammed through a system that jams rote repetition of mindless nonsense into their brain, so there's no room for anything that makes any sense. So when they get out, they can tell you pi r squared and the quadratic formula and the escape velocity of a rocket, but they can't tell you where all the water went after the flood, and they can't tell you why there's that thing up in the sky that looks like a tear in the dome that they call a Milky Way, and they can't tell you why the sun and the moon look exactly the same through the fog, because they're exactly the same size and they're exactly the same distance, and yet they believe that the oceans stick to the earth that's a spinning ball and it doesn't fly off, but a mosquito can, right? And then they'll line up and let somebody put whatever they want into their bloodstream because the doctor told them it's required, right? And they've got all these people working overtime in the music industry to make you a sexual deviant and a suicidal tendency-laden moron that's into drugs and heroin and pot and pills and booze and promiscuous, illicit, deviant sex practices that make you want to commit suicide after you've overdosed on the head cleaner and the 7-day bender on the meth, right? Folks, I drove around my entire life as a young man, and one of the things I did was I traveled a lot throughout the country. I even went into Mexico, and I saw what they were doing to everybody. And one of the best things I ever did, folks, growing up, was taking my girlfriends to the drive-in, because let me tell you why. I never watched the movies, okay? And when I went back, I remember the theme songs from these movies, but I never watched the movies. I was too busy having conversations and falling in love and in and out of love with these gals, right? And I'd go to these movies. I never watched these movies, folks. And looking back, when I look at the screenplay and I read the screenplays, it's unbelievable what they're trying to do to us. And now I look what they're trying to do to us when it comes to our gun rights and these talk show hosts like Bill Handel. Because what he's doing, Bill Handel is working for the same people that have been promoting all this degenerate filth, folks. The people that run these radio stations at the very top, there's just a handful of people that are running stuff, okay? He is putting the icing on the cake, the candles on the cake, and he's trying to blow the candles out on us, folks, and it's not going to work, okay? My advice to all of you out there is to not be afraid of owning a firearm and learning how to use a firearm. There are plenty of places you can go to practice with these. safely. There are instructional classes. Don't be buying your children a gun if you don't know how to use one. Don't be giving your children a gun if you don't even know how to use. Folks, do not give your children weapons if they're on meds. Get your family cleaned up. Teach them the truth. And teach them that human life is valuable, but there does come a time for a just war. Okay? And that time is probably going to approach pretty quickly if they keep pushing everybody into a corner and taking away all of our rights and taking away our ability to feed ourselves and make a living, taking away our ability to drink water, and eventually taking away our ability to breathe air. I mean, this is really getting out of hand. The biggest weapon of mass destruction these days is a cell phone in the hands of a child, folks. Because combining the social media platforms and the media and the music and the educational system that teaches godless deviance, moral relativism, secular humanism, social Darwinism, and cultural Marxism, mixed up with the social media platforms on the cell phones, and then mixed up with the music videos on TikTok and the internet and the movies on Netflix and the music coming out of Hollywood, your child is destined for a mental illness convention attended by all of his or her peers. And if the gun falls into their hands, it could be disastrous. And that is the plan, folks. And that is the plan. Giving children no hope, giving people no hope, making people hate each other, divisive, race-baiting curriculum, race-baiting political rhetoric, phony political dichotomies like liberal and conservative and Democrat and Republican, false dichotomies of dividing us, folks. That's what they want. Don't fall for it. And by the way, listen to Bill Handel and listen to the propaganda this guy puts out, folks. Listen to his spin he puts. And you know, today it was really, you know, kind of sad that this guy, he's an ex-cokehead, and I think he's had a couple of open-heart surgeries. This guy's a big drain on the medical system, and yet he talks about how anti-vaxxers are a drain on the medical system, right? So, you know, this guy packed his nose for years, screwed up his heart, and then, you know, the insurance is supposed to pay for all these heart procedures. But yet, you know, when someone doesn't want to put poison in their body because they want to make a choice about what goes in their bloodstream, he says that they're a threat to society and a drain on the medical system. I mean, the guy's rhetoric is, it borders on criminal, folks. Okay? But that's the media for you, folks. The media is run by criminals. They hate the Constitution, they hate America, and the people that have been put in positions of influence in the media hate the human cattle. And the goal at the very top is to slaughter all the human cattle so the chosen can take over and steal everything from us. Well, folks, not on my watch, all right? Not on my watch, and it shouldn't be on your watch either, folks. So you have rights as an American. You have rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You have a right to exercise your religious beliefs. You have a right to a free press. You have a right to free speech. You have a right to defend yourself against enemies, foreign and domestic. You have a right to remain silent. You have a right against self-incrimination. You have a right to say no to harboring fugitive troops in your home. You have a right to a speedy trial and a jury of your peers. You have a right to understand that all of our rights that haven't been enumerated in that stand and remain at the state level, and the feds don't have all this usurped authority they're claiming. You have a right to private property. You have a right against unfair asset forfeiture, seizures. You have rights, folks. The First Amendment is how we spread those rights. The Second Amendment is how we back those rights up. And forget the trash you learned in school and the trash that run the school districts. Forget respecting those people. Challenge them. If you have children in high school, make your children challenge the teachers to a debate. If they get kicked out of school, pull them out of school and don't put them in there, because all it is brain damage. Your children can go out and make a great living once they're 18. They can test out in GED and kick butt in society and make a living without having to go through all this trauma-based satanic mind control that'll make them depressed and take years off their life by the time they get out and realize they've wasted their whole best years of their life, folks. All right, that's enough. I want to thank you for tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to cut this broadcast. Open your eyes, stand tall, stand firm, and exercise your rights, and shut that television off and realize what's being done to us in the name of Jesus Christ. Take care, folks.